What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Another boat video coming at you, but I kind of wanted to catch you guys up from the last video. I did a couple of things that I didn't film one night. I was bored, came out here and worked on it a little bit. So I talked about it in the last video, but the foam, and all I did was use the 1.5" pink board closed cell foam, and I basically just measured the widths. And this was the only one I had to cut the length on, just because it's got this extra bracket down in here, so I had to be a little bit shorter. But all the other ones are 48 inches long, so I just used the width of the 4x8 sheet, and then also along the sideboards of the boat there. So I got all the new foam in the main compartment here, as well as got the console completely disconnected. So the way that I got the steering box off, I took the steering wheel off, that whole thing pops out, and then there was just 3 bolts on the top, and you pull that steering gear back down through the bottom, and then I just put it all back together so I didn't lose any parts. And then you can still see the throttle control and everything sitting here. So everything's routed through these 2 holes that come from the rear of the boat, and I think I may have mentioned it in one of the previous videos, but I did get another graph. So I got another Helix 7 side imaging graph that I'm going to add to the console. So I did route that transducer back to the back of the boat, and so these are my 2 transducer cables. I've got a Helix 5, which is just a down imaging sonar. I'll probably just use that for my mapping with Navionics, and then the Helix 7 that'll have the side imaging and down imaging and maps and everything else on it as well. But so I just ran those back through with the steering cable, because the hole that has the harness and the throttle cables and the shifter linkage, all of that is pretty full, and it's hard to get anything through there. So I just routed them back through with the steering cable, and you can see everything comes out back here in the back. And this is the Helix 7 transducer. And my plan for that is I'm just going to mount it back here where the speedometer was, so right here. I'll show that in a video. Haven't done that yet. I took the speedometer off already and cleaned up the silicone that was there. So that's all ready to go. Everything's ready to mount there. I got the new silicone, and I ended up buying this. It's kind of like an aerosol deal, and I'm sure it's the same as any other clear silicone, but my thought was I'm only going to use just a tiny bit back there, and if I have this bottle, hopefully it doesn't dry out like you would with a regular caulk gun, and if I need to use a little bit somewhere else, I'll just be able to pull the dried out plug out and then be able to use it. So I'm going to try that. We'll see how it works. I've never used it yet. I normally would just use the regular caulk gun and do it, and you use about 1/50th of a tube, and then you throw it away because it all dries out. So we'll see how the aerosol one works. But otherwise, so I routed the transducer, did the insulation. I haven't done anything up front yet today, or in the videos, or not in the videos. So that's my plan today. I want to get this front deck off, and as well as that front panel. So you guys probably saw under the Helix 7 here, diamond plate. So I'm going to redo, so the original tracker front panel piece here is plastic. So I'm going to redo that panel and use diamond plate to redo it. I also ordered a different trolling motor plug, and then I'll have my tilt trim switches in that panel as well. So it should work out pretty good. So I'm going to use a small piece of aluminum for that, and then I have a plan for the rest of that aluminum that'll also be in the boat. So stay tuned for a future video for what I'm going to use that for. But I also got some more parts in. So I stumbled across these on Amazon. They are a quick connect connector for those 2-pin pigtail connectors, which I use for my docking lights up front. So my plan when I redo this front panel I'm going to add these connectors on here somewhere in that panel, so then I can just have easy access to plug and unplug my lights. Because right now I have the pigtail connectors, and I just kind of have them shoved up behind that panel. There's a little gap there under the gunnel, but it'll be a lot cleaner and a lot easier with these connectors mounted. So I'm going to throw those in there. That was just something I stumbled across. I was like, oh, I could use those. And then I also picked up a 60 amp circuit breaker that I'm going to use for my trolling motor, and some 8 gauge trolling motor wire. So I'm going to rerun the wires all the way from the back all the way to the front while I have everything apart, and put some new trolling motor wires up front. And the reason I want to do that is just in case I do go to a 24 volt, because I am looking for a Minn Kota Ultrex. So if I go to a 24 volt, I'll need the 8 gauge 50 amp wire, and I'll already have it ran, but it'll work just fine on the 12 volt system for the Minn Kota power drive that I have already. And then a couple of other things that I bought. I bought new navigation lights, and they came with the ports, so I'll be able to redo both the front navigation and the rear anchor light. The rear anchor light was, the port for it was all busted up, so, and here's the new one right here. A little dusty, but so those should work better. Rewire all that up. And then my plan is to also redo the console. I'm going to completely tear it down. It's sitting over here right now. I'm going to completely tear down the console and paint it all up. There's a couple of cracks in it. I'm going to fill those cracks, paint everything up, get it looking good. It's a little bit faded, so. But that's pretty much what I've done since the last video. All the aluminum is sanded other than this panel right here. So I'm going to get this off today, get that all sanded, all the glue off, and get the front deck off because I want to measure the size I need for my hatch lid. Oh, I guess, I don't know if I've showed you guys these yet either, but these are the new hatch locking latches. So, found those on Amazon. They're a white cap brand, but they look pretty cool. The handle itself is metal, and then the rest of it is a strong polymer. So I picked up those, so all my hatches will have those anchor style latches on them. And then I just got an assortment of stainless steel hardware and rivets for when I go to put everything back together. But let's go ahead, get this front taken apart, and we'll do some measuring for that front hatch lid, and then clean up that front panel. So let's get to it. All right, we got everything cleaned off the front deck. Now let's go ahead, start doing some measuring. So basically, I don't know exactly where these, there's 2 support bars that run parallel with the boat, and then they are the edge of where the storage is up here. And I'm not sure exactly where they're at, but I want to kind of get a measurement of where the seat pedal would be acceptable. Right now it's like, oh, let's take a quick check. Yeah, right now it's 9 inches from the back of the deck. And I think we could put it at, oh, I think an acceptable position would be at about 20. So if we go to 20 inches, and then the actual bracket for it is 7 inches. I'm going to take a quick measurement on the back, just to double check. Yep. It's right at 7 inches. So if we go to 20, minus 3.5, get us to 16.5. So total, our lid could be probably 14 inches width front to back, and then we're going to pull off the front deck and we'll be able to get a width side to side. So 14 front to back. Well, we're at 16.5, and then the aluminum piece up here is probably an inch. So maybe we'll even go with 12-inch. Either a 12 or a 14-inch hatch lid. But let's go ahead, we'll start, get this front panel taken off and unplug the dock lights, get those out of the way, and then we'll also remove that electrical panel there. Alright, as you guys saw, we got this front panel off, and now you can kind of see better how I have everything wired. Let me click on the light here. So my front lights were just pigtailed, and then you can see those shark bites down in there. Let's see if I can get them up here. But they're just spliced into my navigation lights. So I use the navigation light switch to run my dock lights. And if I don't want them on, I'll just unplug them. But you can see, this is what I had for the pigtails. Just a 2-post. So that's it. Everything came right out. My ram mount is still on this panel. I'm going to have to get a wrench, a backup wrench, so I can get that off there. And then strip all this carpet and get it sanded down, but overall shouldn't be too bad. And then this is the piece that I'm going to make out of diamond plate. You can see the corners are all cracked and it's just old and weathered, so I'm going to go ahead and make one of them. And I might actually get a 3-position switch to run my tilt trim, so I can just lift it up for up, push it down for down, instead of having 2 separate switches. We'll see. I'll see what I can find online. Maybe I'll order something. Haven't really thought about it much to this point, but yeah, shouldn't be too bad. But let's go ahead, get this all taken apart, and I'll show you guys removing the carpet on that, because I really haven't showed a whole lot of how I've done it. So let's get that ram mount off there quick, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'll go ahead and show you guys quick exactly what I found the best way to get this carpet off, and that's using needle nose pliers. So you come to where they have the carpet folded over, and usually on the back side is where they have the most glue. So this panel shouldn't be too bad because it's pretty small, but you can see you really gotta pull that carpet back away from that glue. And then sometimes I've found rolling it, you know, grabbing it with the pliers and then rolling, you can really get a good pull on it. And you can see they just used a ton of glue on these panels to hold it to the back side. Then once you get it started, you can usually just pull on it. That's what I found was the best method, and this panel actually probably has more glue than any of the others that I've had, so it's going to be a little more painful, but you just work it all the way across, roll it, it'll come right down. And that is it. And this one was a lot worse than all the other ones. They glued all around the edges of all the openings, and then on the back side of where the carpet was rolled over. So if you guys have any questions over anything that I've done that I maybe haven't shown in enough detail, just drop a comment below. I can either go back and add it in the next video, or I can reply to your comment. But we're gonna go ahead, pull off this front deck so we can get a width measurement side to side, and it's just screwed down all the way around the perimeter and then down both of those supports. And actually I could probably get my measurement right here, but you can see the two parallel supports right there. So let's pull it off there, and I'll show you what that front storage compartment looks like from the top. Alright, got the front deck off now. You can see this front storage compartment that they have. And I just store life vest. I've got a folding net that we use a little bit when bass fishing, and then my anchor is all that gets stored up there right now, and probably will continue to be that way. But I want to be able to access it from the top, especially when I put my tackle storage all the way across here. You're not going to be able to get to that door, and obviously you want to be able to get to the life vests in an emergency. So we're going to take a measurement of across there, so we know we can go, well, this is actually wider than I thought. That's probably 2 inches. That's 1 3/4 inches. So we're going to have to go with a 12-inch lid because we had 16.5 from that lip. So minus 1 3/4 inches, 15.25, or yeah, 15.25. And then Yeah, so we could go 14 inches, I guess, but it's also going to have a rim around it, and I'm going to get a waterproof hatch lid, so it'll have the frame and everything, so we got to account for that. So I'm probably just going to go 12 inches with the boat, and then I want it to basically sit right in between these rails. Let's take a quick measurement of them, and those are 14 inches. So 12 by 14 is basically what it's going to be. And you can see the rods come through that hole on that side, and they can come all the way up to the front of the boat up here. And then on this side, there's really nothing other than the wiring. So I'm also contemplating having like a drop-in plastic tote with a hatch on this side over here, where I can just store some plastics and pliers and, you know, stuff that you need every now and then up here. And I'll probably take a few measurements for that and just see what it's going to cost. If it's super expensive, I won't do it. But if I can get an aluminum frame and hatch lid fairly cheap, I'll probably end up adding another storage container up here to the front right side. And then this area up here, if I do end up getting the Ultrex, I'll do a recessed foot tray for the foot pedal right there. So there's plenty of room for that, which is good. And the front deck is actually still in really good shape. The wood is solid. So I'm not going to take the carpet off of it yet, because if I do wind up running out of aluminum or out of vinyl and I want to go fishing, I'll just run that still in carpet until more vinyl shows up, and I can just pull that off, cut a new piece of plywood, do that real quick. So I'm just going to leave that as is for right now. I'm not going to tear that down because the weather is starting to get nicer and everybody's quarantined. So if we want to go fishing, we got to have a quick plan. I'm supposed to get my glue for my flooring. It was back ordered. I'm assuming it probably comes from China, but I'm supposed to get that this week. So hopefully that comes, and then we can get started installing the vinyl. But I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions or if you want to see anything closer, let me know. I can either add it to another video or I can drop a reply to your question down below. But so far the boat's looking awesome. Got everything all cleaned up, tore down, and it shouldn't be too bad putting it back together. The only area that I'm slightly concerned with is doing that back deck, because it's going to be all one sheet. Other than the hatch lids, it'll be one sheet of vinyl, and then it wraps around that front. So that'll be a bit of a challenge, but I don't think it'll be too bad. But stay tuned for the next videos, guys. We're gonna install that transducer, and then we've got a few other things, and hopefully that glue shows up and we'll get started on that vinyl work. So, and then I've also got that new trolling motor wire, stuff like that. Gonna rewire up to the front of the boat up here, so as well as the console, start working on the console. So still a lot of action to come. Like I said, this will be the 4th video in the series, so it'll probably end up being right around 10 videos to get the whole boat done. But if you're interested in it, stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.